Birdman built Cash Money Records, introducing the world to major artists like Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, and Drake. Birdman had an estimated net worth of over $100 million, bringing in massive amounts of money from his label, clothing line, and his oil company.
What was the biggest check that you've seen that was written to you?
$100 million about 6 months ago.
Before Birdman would have an epic falling out with his beloved protege Lil Wayne, spawning delayed albums, side beefs, and a $51 million lawsuit.
Do you pay people what they're supposed to get?
I'm gonna answer you with this.
Okay.
You got the top 10 Forbes, right? Mm-hmm. 4 of them is us. Wayne, Drake, Nicki, and me.
Before granting The Breakfast Club their shortest interview ever.
Nigga, when my name come up, respect it.
Let's go.
Stop playing with my fucking name. All 3 of y'all. Stop playing with my name. I ain't gonna say it no more.
Birdman was an orphan by the time he was just 5 years old, and during his turbulent childhood, he lived in the crime-riddled Magnolia projects, a rundown boys' home. And for some time, well, he lived in Prince George, Canada. He dealt drugs as a teen and wound up in prison, but through it all, he had his big brother Slim. The boys shared a dream to one day start a record label. That dream would eventually evolve into the industry powerhouse known as Cash Money Records.
So losing a nigga that I met through the streets or through music, that shit don't fade me.
What's going on, guys? My name is Michael McCrudden, documenting the life and career of Birdman prior to fame, here for you on Before They're Famous. Now, I recently did a Rich Life on Cash Money artist Lil Wayne. You might want to check that out. And we're going to do a follow-up on Birdman called After They Were Famous. So, sit tight for that. Also, be sure to let me know who's next in the comments down below.
I didn't really think the shit really was real, what I was going through, because I come from a boys' home. I come from the penitentiary, going to jail at a young age instead of going to college.
Birdman, also known as Baby, was born Brian Williams on February 15, 1969 in New Orleans, Louisiana. He grew up in one of America's most dangerous housing districts, the Magnolia Projects, alongside his older brother, Ronald Slim Williams. Slim would be an important figure throughout Baby's life, even though he keeps a pretty low profile. Why is he calling him Baby too? That's weird.
If we don't hear from you,
you ain't gonna hear nothing.
Slim is like, it's like, he's like a mystery man.
Definitely.
Birdman has said this of his brother. He kept me humble. I am the opposite of my brother. Sometimes I got hot-headed in my younger days, and my brother never gets hot-headed. He's somebody that I would really like to be like in life. He's smart, he's cool, he's special. Their mother, known to all as Miss Gladys, died when Brian was just 2 years old. Their father, Johnny, as well as his stepmom, then raised the boys on their own. Johnny taught his boys valuable lessons about money and life. He owned several local businesses, including bars, grocery stores, and a washerette. Brian and Ronald would visit their dad at work, watching him run his business. This taught the boys the value of being your own boss and also gave them a chance to listen to the music playing at their father's bars. They would become avid music fans and eventually dream of starting their own label. But when Brian was just 5 years old, his father passed away. They bounced around for quite some time and ended up spending 2 of 3 years in Prince George, Canada with an older sister. With no legal guardian, the brothers ended up in a boys' home for about 2 years until their stepmom came to get them. Then from around the age of 10, Baby and Slim, well, they were homeless and left to fend for themselves. What a crazy come up.
You know, the streets raised me, the block, the neighborhood. I have like 10 brothers and 12 sisters, so I can go to any one of them. But the streets raised me.
Birdman began to steal and sell drugs as a means to get by. He was arrested for the first time at the age of 16 for drug possession and sentenced to 3 to 5 years in Cook County Correctional Center. He served 22 months in prison. Birdman has described jail as his own version of college. While incarcerated, Birdman read the Bible, which he said changed his life. He said that connecting to God made him feel accountable for his actions and pushed him to turn away from violence. While he no longer considers himself to be particularly religious, he does often speak with Minister Farrakhan for spiritual guidance.
Once I learned about the Bible, it just changed my life. It gave me a different outlook on life.
After his release from jail, Baby and Slim decided to get started creating their own label. Birdman actually etched the original logo for their brand by hand. But with no studio, no producer, no artist, it wasn't much of a label. Baby was in a tight spot, but you know what they say about putting Baby in a corner.
Nobody puts Baby in a corner.
One of the first artists the brothers attempted to recruit to the label was an 8-year-old by the name of Dwayne Michael Carter Jr., although you probably know him as Lil Wayne. In the summer of 1991, he met Baby and recorded freestyle raps on his answering machine. Just exactly how and why Birdman was hanging out with an 8-year-old, I don't know. but the two would develop a close relationship. That has been the subject of much scrutiny, speculation, and rumors, especially after the two started kissing each other on television in 2002.
When you kiss a girl, right?
Hey, I'm not a person he kissed.
Big Lack, how you doing? Wayne? Big down, My bad.
That's pretty weird. Lil Wayne would go on to say that as a minor, he was encouraged by a group of adults, including Birdman, to have sex with a grown-up woman while a lot of these adults watched. Which is really weird. Not as weird, but still weird.
I got raped when I was 11, Twist. And I loved it.
Back then, of course, Birdman was known as Baby, and Dwayne would don the name Baby D, teaming up with another young artist, Lil Dougie. They formed the rap duo the Bee Gees. It would be some time before they would record their first album, but that album would be True Story, released by Cash Money on July 29th, 1995. It'd be a long way before Lil Wayne would become a real moneymaker for Cash Money. Nevertheless, Baby kept him close while developing the label into an industry powerhouse. The first artist assigned to the label would be a high school kid by the name of Robert L. Johnson Jr., who was rapping under the name Kilo G. Baby and Slim got him into a recording studio with producers Roe and Goldfingers, producing the first ever Cash Money record, The Sleepwalker, in 1992. The album was more or less a flop, selling just a few thousand copies. After the experience, Baby and Slim decided to change up their sound, while Kilo G was characterized as a horrorcore artist. At the time, a new form of hip-hop called bounce was beginning to gain traction in New Orleans. The brothers decided to jump on the trend and had their eye on a number of new artists to sign, including Mike Little Slim Pettis. He was a bounce artist who was fresh out of high school but already beginning to draw big crowds in local clubs. He was approached by several startup labels but eventually decided to sign with Cash Money because of their professionalism and the work they had done with Kilo G. Baby and Slim also decided to end their relationship with Roe and Goldfingers, and with the help of Lil Slim connected with Manny Fresh, who would become their in-house producer and ended up producing every one of their albums until 2005. With Manny Fresh on board, they set about recruiting everybody who ended up becoming part of the first generation of Cash Money artists, including Pimp Daddy, Mr. Ivan, Miss T, and Magnolia Shorty. Birdman would also record with the label as he was beginning to rap himself under yet another name, B32, with and two trios, PXMXWX and Unliv, or UNLV, as well as his 32 Golds crew. I got no idea, that's what it was. Would later team up with in-house producer Manny Fresh to form the Big Timers. Cash Money had grown a roster of artists and a talented in-house producer. They didn't have a studio to record in and ended up setting up in Birdman's kitchen. But soon enough, Cash Money music was taking over the airwaves throughout the South, and their records were selling tens of thousands of copies per release. By the late 90s, the label was making $1 million a month, but the artists weren't seeing any of that cash. Lil Slim became the first artist to leave the label in 1995.
I wish I would have stayed doing my own thing. I feel like you would be familiar with me now if I wouldn't have signed with Cash Money Records.
Within just 3 years, every member of the first generation of Cash Money artists would leave except for Lil Dougie and Baby D of the rap duo Bee Gees. Both rappers would change their names and be known as BG and Lil Wayne. Despite losing their first generation, Cash Money Records was attracting the attention of bigwigs in the music industry by this time. Universal Records wanted to get into the rap game and saw Cash Money as the way to do it. After 6 months of negotiations, in March of 1998, Baby and Slim signed a historic $30 million deal with the president of Universal. The deal allowed Universal to get into the rap game by distributing the work of Cash Money artists. In exchange, the brothers retained full ownership of their masters and publishing and got millions of dollars in annual advances. And they earned a whopping 80% on all records sold. Sweet deal. With Cash Money hitting the big time, Baby had achieved his dream, but his aspirations to become a successful recording artist was still waiting to be achieved. I'll talk more about that and a whole bunch of other weird Birdman stuff in his After They're Famous video, which is coming next week, for real. This is Before They're Famous. As for the rest of the story, you'll have to wait and see. My name is Michael McCrud. We make all sorts of celebrity bios here for you on this channel. It's been like a long time you guys have been asking for Birdman, so we finally got it done. Let me know who's next in the comments down below. See you guys in another video. Boom! The brothers decided to jump on the trend and had their eye on a number of new artists to sign, including Mike Little Slim Pettis. That's actually his name.